Of course, that was in the heady days of fall 2012, back when a little website called Unskewed Polls was predicting a big loss for President Obama, and Republicans were steadfastly refusing to believe anything that showed their candidate behind. And there was Karl Rove disputing Fox News' own number crunching on election night.
Do you believe that Ohio has been settled?
No, I don't. And look, if we are calling this on the basis of 74% of the vote being in, we got to be careful about calling things when we have like 991 votes separating the two candidates and a quarter of the vote yet to count. If it's going to happen, let the votes begin to show it.
We never miss an opportunity to play that video. Still with me, I have Sam Cedar, McKay, Coppins, Jess McIntosh. So what's up with this? I mean, I remember there was this movement among grassroots activists in the Democratic Party in the early aughts, 2004, 2005, against the Democratic consultant class, which they felt was ripping off small dollar donors and campaigns and producing nothing of value. And I wonder if you're going to see something similar in the Republican consulting class.
You actually already hear it among Tea Party activists and conservatives. They rail against the broken consulting class. I mean, but it's actually true. I mean, you look at these pollsters, it's not just this group. The Romney campaign used a number of pollsters throughout the country, and I remember, as a reporter covering that campaign, that especially in the last weeks, they would break out these spreadsheets and these sophisticated models, and, you know, on background, let me show you this poll. And they really, it wasn't BS. They really believed they were going to win. And they were just so off. And in the Cuccinelli race in Virginia, you also had this problem where they thought they were way further behind than they actually were. And how with Cantor, I mean, the GOP has got to fix its polling problem.
Yeah, and the polling seems like, I mean, polling seems like a relatively easy thing to fix, although it's also possible that the dynamics changed so quickly that it was actually a really, I mean, it is possible, right? One idea is that it's possible he was up by that much 2 weeks ago.
Well, I think they had the wrong model as to who was the likely voter. And to be fair, there was a 40-point margin of error on that poll.
but they were in the plus or minus 40.
But I think, you know, the problem extends to their entire political shop, I think, at Cantor, because, you know, both the reporters I spoke to today from that district said those ads that tried to paint David Bratt as a liberal college professor were ridiculous because no one knew who he was. Exactly. It was basically just like, we want to introduce you to this guy, and you've got plenty of time to figure out whether or not he's actually a liberal college professor running as a Republican.
And Jess, that is, I got to say, that's the model on both sides of the aisle. The model is raise a lot of money, raise as much money as you can, take that money, big ad buys. And that's, you know, that's how most congressional races are run, particularly at a time when all the sophistication you see in a national campaign that's in voter contact has not trickled down to congressional races. It's still just like raise a lot of money, run a lot of ads, show up and smile on Election Day and cross your fingers.
Well, first I would say that the Democrats usually are invested in getting as many people out to the polls as possible. We tend to do better with a larger electorate, so voter contact, especially in those final days, really does matter for us. But if I can defend the Republican pollster for a second, I'm not sure why. Their primaries are so much more volatile than ours are right now. I mean, Democrats really haven't been terribly surprised by any primary of this year yet. I mean, we've lost a couple we thought we were going to win, but it was close, and open primaries in California, et cetera. Like, Republicans are dealing with just an amazingly volatile electorate. They don't know what their establishment picks are catering to the Tea Party wing. Sometimes they're being beaten by the Tea Party wing anyway. It's hard to see where that wing ends and the establishment begins. I think we're in a period that's really tough for Republican pollsters.
What the universe is, McKay.
Right. And what makes David Bratt's win all the more remarkable is that, you know, you had big business, big Wall Street, you know, show up for Cantor. You didn't even have big Tea Party, as it were, show up for David Bratt. None of these national organizations came out for him, and they were caught just as much by surprise as everyone else was when it turned out Bratt won.
Yeah, but I don't think this is a Tea Party versus establishment race. I mean, he doesn't identify as a Tea Party. He was on Hannity last night saying there is no difference between the grassroots, the Tea Party, and the establishment in terms of principles and policies. I think this was more about a guy who was perceived as corrupt.
SUV.
Exactly, and somebody there who could actually sort of stand up and talk for an extended period of time and not completely flub it, apparently.
No, he's actually a relatively poised, charismatic individual. I mean, I was
when you get into the details, it starts to be
right. No, I'm not saying he's substantively at all admirable. All I'm saying is that when I saw him last night, I was like, oh, he can stand in front of a microphone. And I can see people looking at that guy, being like, oh, I'll take a flyer on that guy if you don't like Eric Cantor. MSNBC contributor Sam Cedar, McKay Coppins from BuzzFeed, and Jess McIntosh from Emily's List. Thank you.